Welcome back to the Motorcyclist Podcast. This is where we talk about motorcycles and what makes them great. Topics on the show constantly change, but the one thing that remains is two-wheeled fun. I'm Justin Dawes, executive editor, and we've got editor Adam Wahid and photo director Jeff Allen. In this episode, we are going to talk about one of the original world-traveling adventure motorcycles, that being the Kawasaki KLR650. We can call it an adventure bike. You can call it big dual sport. You can call it an enduro. It's many things over the years, which is a lot. 38 years.
It's definitely the Globetrotter.
Definitely a Globetrotter. Probably has amassed millions and millions of miles in its lifetime as a long-running Kawasaki model. And there's a reason for it. It's simple. It's strong. And if you drop it, you're not going to make it look any uglier.
Yeah, they definitely hit it with the ugly stick. That's for sure.
Yeah. Styling was not top on the list for this motorcycle. So
I think the older ones are almost better looking.
I would say that the newest one looks okay, but man, there was a middle stint in there from. We'll get into it, but
there was some pretty bad colorways too. The white with the purple and
Oh, dude, I would take the purple and pink, and that was Kawasaki's jam.
Yeah.
They loved putting like 7 different colors on a bike. You know, they just like looked at a color wheel and said, "Yes, we'll take all those colors and put them on the bike somewhere." I remember there was I think it was a KX maybe. It had pink, purple, gold, blue, black, white, and yellow.
Was that like an early 90s?
Yeah, it was like a mid-90s KX, I think. It was, it was a lot of color.
I took my my motorcycle driver's license test on that bike.
Jeez.
You did? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I took mine on my DR 350S, and the lady failed me because I stopped too fast. It was like stop at the stop sign thing. You roll up to it, and I like was showing off, and she's like, "Nope, that was showing off. Come back another day."
Yeah, it's funny how that works. Sometimes you can't do the exact right thing. You have to, do what they want you to do.
Yeah, so I came back the next day and got it. Anyway, let's talk about the KLR. I've got some history. We'll go through a quick history lesson. So it came out in 1987, and it replaced the KLR 600, which was from 1984 to 86. It was I think a 553 cc single enduro dual sport big bike. But the KLR added a bunch of capability, got a lot bigger. Still is a 652 cc liquid cooled single, dual overhead cam, 4 valves. Makes a claimed 30 at that point, made a claimed 36 horsepower and 35 pound-feet of torque. It's a 5-speed, remains a 5-speed, and the weight was wet weight was 432 pounds. Kind of a tall bike. Seat height was 35 inches. Had a gigantic gas tank, 6.1 gallons. And
massive.
The suspension travel was pretty decent for a big enduro dual sport. 9 inches of suspension travel, 38 millimeter forks, unitrack rear linkage suspension. But get this, it had a single piston front brake. Just a single piston, not even a dual piston.
Yeah.
Just one big old school piston there. So not the epitome of performance for sure. But MSRP on that bike, $2,999.
Yeah. I looked at some
price.
used ones. They're going for about the same now.
Yeah.
Like those early those early KLR 650s, you can buy a used one on Cycle Trader for about $3,000.
Wow. Should have in '87. You should have invested in KLR instead of
I should have bought a fleet of those things
instead of Betamax. You should have got KLR. So, that equates to about $8,000 in today's money with inflation. So, which surprisingly is almost the exact price of the top tier model of the KLR today. So that was 1987, and that bike ran until 2007. In between there was a variant, a rally adventure style variant called the KLR650 10 guy. And 10 guy meant end of sky in Japanese, or does mean end of sky in Japanese. The Japanese language has not changed, so I should say that's what it means.
End of sky meaning horizon.
Horizon. Yeah, like, telling you can go a long way on it, basically.
Yeah.
It did have less suspension travel. It had a lower seat height, but it got a bigger front brake. And it was kind of cool looking. It was very more what we would look like an adventure bike today. So very cool looking bike. I think even now it's not ugly like the other ones. So 2008 was the first makeover. I was working at Kawasaki at the time when the makeover happened, and I did not prefer the look. It got a bigger front shrouds, got big front shrouds. It got a big windscreen. It somehow it made it uglier.
I remember the styling. It got a lukewarm reception.
It really,
just about
really
everywhere.
Did. Yeah. It got a new frame, some stiffer frame stuff. Got more power. Got a new cylinder head, cams, ignition mapping. It had a dual piston front brake caliper finally. But it was like they took this bodywork and kind of slapped it over the old bodywork. It had the same tank as the old one, and then they just kind of grafted these shrouds to it, and then it was very round and bulbous, but strange. But it did give better wind protection. So that was 2008, and then in 2022, they came out with the latest version. It finally got fuel injection. It's got a new look to it. It's more modern. It's sharper. It looks okay now. I mean, it doesn't.
I think it looks as good as it's ever looked.
Yes. Okay.
That's not to say much, but
that is a proper way to put
said.
it. It looks good, as good as it'll ever look. Got bigger brakes. Got a new LCD dash with a fuel gauge. Finally, got ABS if you want it, but you can get it without ABS too.
The bummer is that you can't switch it off. The ABS for a dual sport bike, that's a bit of a bummer.
So if you're gonna buy one and you're gonna do a lot of dirt, just buy the non-ABS model. There's multiple variants now, so there's three versions of it. There's the standard model, which is $68.99. So it's actually less expensive than it was back in '87.
Yeah, adjusted for inflation. Yeah,
adjusted for inflation. I mean, it's a sub $7,000 motorcycle. That's pretty decent. The short is similar in price. The S model means short, which lowers the seat height, lowers the suspension travel for riders that are vertically, I wouldn't say challenged, but they battle with a tall seat height.
Is it the suspension is not different? It's just a different link.
It's just length, just a different length. Yeah, that's it. So, and then there's the Adventure, which comes with saddlebags and some extra driving lights and a few other niceties. And that one is $81.99. So basically maybe $200 more than an 87 if you adjust for inflation, and you get more stuff. So it's pretty impressive. And then
I wonder if they've paid off that tooling yet.
The engine absolutely, they have paid off the tooling without a doubt. And I guess we should just go into that right now with the tooling. There's a part on the bike that has not, well, it was updated in 2008, I believe, called the doohickey. So it is the Achilles heel of the KLR, which is a tensioner for the chain that drives the dual counterbalancer weights, and it has been prone to fail on bikes that do a lot of miles, and they have not changed it, even though it's prone to fail on long mileage KLRs, because a lot of people, when they buy these bikes, they have dreams of traveling millions of miles, but in reality A lot of them never even crack 5,000 miles. So it's not a huge warranty issue, but it is an issue for people that go a long way. So you have to buy a $150 part, spend a few hours putting it in. It's fairly involved, but like you said, the tooling is paid for, so Kawasaki's not going to change it. And the other thing they didn't change is it still has a 5-speed transmission because the tooling is paid for. So it is a high margin motorcycle for them, absolutely. There's another KLR model that technically isn't a Kawasaki, and that's the Hayes Diversified Technologies M1030M1. It's a diesel powered KLR. So they use the crankshaft or the crankcase and the transmission of a KLR, but everything else has changed to turn it into a diesel. It ran on diesel and JP8 jet fuel. So you could run diesel or kerosene based fuel. And it was ridden by the Marines, Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan. So there wasn't a lot of them made. There's not an exact number. It's maybe a few hundred, but sometimes you can find one on the internet. And they're an interesting buy, but they're not going to be a satisfying ride. Quite slow, being a diesel, and quite heavy. But they get ridiculous mileage. I think they get like 90 something miles per gallon. And if you got a 6-gallon tank, you can go a long way.
Yeah.
So anyway, interesting history that it was a war machine as well as a world conquering machine. So that's pretty much the history of the bike. 38 years, still costs basically the same amount as it did when it started, and remains very much true to the very first KLR that came out. So let's talk about maybe why it's so popular still to this day. I like to call it the Stone Axe of adventure riding.
Yeah.
So what are your guys' thoughts on the thing in terms of why people continue to use them for traveling the world?
Well, it's just simple and affordable.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And and the other reason I would think is because they've been around so long. There's a ton of information. You know, if you're having an issue, or if you're not having an issue and you just want some sort of update or accessories or whatever, there's just tons and tons of information out there.
Yeah, there really is. Like you said, they're simple, easy to fix for the most part. It's a very simple motorcycle, which makes it easy to fix. And like we already talked about the one Achilles heel. So if you're going to travel the world, you spend the time to fix up that one part, and then you're pretty solid.
Yeah, they're reliable,
and it's like
aftermarket support too. Aftermarket support. I mean, every little aftermarket accessory is made for that thing, and you can customize those things and make them even more touring friendly with extra luggage, extra fuel tanks, extra lights,
extra. Yeah, they're comfortable.
They are comfortable.
The rider cockpit is very roomy and comfortable. The seat is massive and wide, and they did change the seat foam. I think in 2008 they made it a little stiffer seat foam, which helped the comfort even a little bit more. It had this big, very squishy, huge Barca Lounger seat on it. Now it's a little stiffer, but it's still very, very comfortable. And it's got enough power. Like, it doesn't have too much power, but it's got enough power.
It certainly does not have too much power.
Yeah. Well, it goes 90 miles per hour on the highway. You can do that. It not very exciting to do it at that speed, but that's the thing about the KLR. It's just capable. It's not really super awesome at anything, but it just gets the job done.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the points about it is that when you're traveling, if you're going to travel the world, like, okay, we'll just say like the draw for world travelers, you don't need something that goes fast. You don't need something that has like every mode of traction control and rally mode and all these things.
Yeah.
Like, you're just trying to get from point A to point B every day or every week or whatever your schedule is, and you just want something that'll get you there without fuss.
Yeah, without with the fewest number of issues.
Yep.
It actually handles really good on the road, considering it has a 21-inch front and a 17-inch rear. It just, it like you could drag the foot pegs if you really wanted to. It handles really awesome on the road, and then it can get through the dirt. The suspension is quite soft, and that's fine.
Yeah,
like, it's made to deal with washboard and bumpy roads, not enduro single track, right? So for all those reasons, it is a very solid choice for a lot of world travelers. Has been since 1987 and continues to be 38 years later. So I think there's
a guy, Dr. Greg Fraser. Do you know this guy? Yeah, he's been circumnavigating the world like 4 times on a KLR.
Yeah,
like a million miles. Yeah,
million miles on a KLR. Not the same KLR.
I don't think it was the same KLR.
Yeah.
Although there is a Wattman. Do you know Wattman?
No.
Yeah. He's got 200,000 miles on one KLR.
Yeah,
I was going through. He has a public log of like maintenance and all that. He had what did he get? 64,000 miles out of the original clutch cable.
Jeez, that's amazing.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. See, that's another thing about the KLR is there's like a community, and they're passionate about it. They might be a little bit nerdy about some things, but there's so much info out there. It does make sense to run that because, like you said, there's so much info because of people like Wattman that are logging every issue, every mile they have. So there's just this huge amount of info to do what you want to do with that bike.
Yeah, it's almost cool. Like the KLR rider is more about the destination than actually getting there. Where, us guys on our fancy R1300 GSs and Africa Twins, getting there is cool, but or the destination's cool, but actually riding is like the highlight, where it's almost a little bit flip-flopped on the KLR. Not saying it can be like that for everyone, but it's just a very utilitarian thing. But that's not a bad thing. I mean,
no, absolutely
you spend more time arriving at your destination, seeing what the world has to offer, rather than tinkering around with your bike or bragging about your bike. And that's totally cool,
Yeah, exactly. You do your oil changes, change your tires when you can, check your brakes, you're good. You're solid, So that's pretty rad. So we've all ridden them, right?
Yeah.
Over the years. So let's talk about our own personal riding impressions and if we like them or not. So Adam, you go first. You tell us about what you think about the KLR.
Well, I mean, like we all will admit, that it's not the most exciting bike to ride. It's not the most fun. But again, like if you want to go somewhere, it takes you there. And the cool thing about the KLR is you can ride it in basically any type of environment, and it'll get the job done. The other cool thing about the KLR is when you're riding these dual sport bikes and adventure bikes, for the most part, you're going to have to log a lot of freeway time or a lot of highway time to get to your destination. It's just inevitable. And that's the one area where that KLR really shines, is just on the highway. We talked about the seat. We talked about that big front fairing. It's just a crazy comfortable bike. Like it's boring, but it's very comfortable. You're not going to be in discomfort when you get to your destination. The engine doesn't vibrate excessively. It's got good wind protection. And it just allows you to travel with like lofty levels of comfort, especially for a bike that's sub $7,000. Like you're not going to find a more comfortable bike for that price.
Yeah, and that says a lot, since that it's just a giant thumper. It's not too vibraty either in the grips or in the pegs. It's pretty smooth machine to ride when you're just putting in the miles.
Yeah, and another plus is, I mean, they're not flashy. They don't draw attention. They're just kind of like incognito vehicles, which is good or bad depending on the kind of person you are. But, when you're just looking to get out of the city and just be on your own, it's not a bad idea having like just an incognito bike, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Jeff, any other additions on your likes, dislikes? Do you like it?
I'm pretty lukewarm on it, to be honest. I don't like the riding position. I feel like when I'm sitting, I'm actually in it. Like I like as a dual sport bike or adventure bike, I like a taller, flatter seat, like a dirt bike. And there are some adventure bikes out there. The KLR is one of them, where you sit down in the bike, and I don't find that to be a comfortable riding position off road. And then when you stand up, that triangle, you're sort of leaned over too much. So it's not. I don't find the riding position suits me off road or even on road. I mean, I've done rides on them, and I don't have much of an issue. It's just it doesn't fit my style.
Well, the standing position is just straight up awkward for any type of rider.
Well, it's old school. I mean, that's
it's definitely old school.
The rider triangle was established back in 84 on the KLR600, and it hasn't changed much. And I mean, they're maximizing their tooling costs, and they're not going to change, the chassis to make it feel more modern if people are still buying them, and they can make a huge profit because everything's paid for. So it is what it is. I like it as a bike that can smash miles. That part of it is great. Like you said, it's not the most exciting bike, but it can be if everyone's on the same bike. So we'll talk about some good stories, and maybe I'll just jump into it to put it with my riding impressions. But when I worked at Kawasaki, Laguna Seca every year, the races at Laguna Seca, we had this huge lone pool of motorcycles, and everyone would go to Laguna Seca, and you could pick whatever you want. And the KLRs were the first to be picked. And so there'd be a group of like 7 of us that would hop on KLRs, and you would just put the thing to the stop, and the thing would wobble and wiggle, and you'd go around the corners, and the foot pegs would be scraping, and it'd be moving, and you'd be drafting the person in front of you trying to pass them. And it was really fun because everyone was on the same thing.
Yeah.
And it was fun not only because everyone was on the same thing, but it was always consistent. Like the wiggle would always happen at this type of corner, at this type of speed, and you just got used to those things. It just became normal, and then it was really fun, and then you go off in the dirt and slide around dirt roads and all that kind of stuff, and it was really, really fun, and that's when it's fun, and that's when I like it. And if I wanted to do some serious ADV riding these days, it wouldn't be my first choice. But at the same time, if someone was like, okay, Dawes, you're gonna, for the next 6 months, you're going to go from Alaska to Ushuaia, what are you going to take? It would seriously be in consideration for me.
Yeah, utilitarian long distance travel, that's just like, it's a no-brainer,
Yeah,
exactly. So does anyone else have any good stories on the old KLR?
I've done some trips on the KLR650. As I always have stories in Mexico, but I have
breaking stuff in Mexico. Yeah. Like, what did you break on it in Mexico?
No, we didn't. Nothing broke. It worked flawlessly, and I did a ride in mainland Mexico from El Paso down to the bottom of Copper Canyon. There's a little town there called Bato Pilas, and we had a really great mix of road for that thing. And like Wati was saying, there was a section going into the canyon. It's probably, I say it's about 80 miles, maybe 100 miles, where it's at that time, the pavement was good and there were no stop signs or anything. Just 100 miles is on the KLR on good pavement. And it was a joy. I mean, it was really fun. Very little traffic. And, then coming back out, it was a great bike for that. It was super fun.
Nice. Heed?
I mean, my stories in the KLR, just, going to Mexico, loading it up with all your goodies, bringing way too much stuff because, the adventure model now actually has some good cargo capacity. And, the fuel tank range is good, so you can just load up and just go, and you don't have to be so conscious of fuel stops. Not saying you don't have to be conscious, but like, as you know, the real thirsty adventure touring bikes that just drink fuel. And you can just, it's almost like you can the machine's so boring to ride that you can really focus on just like the landscapes and looking around and seeing stuff. And like, just you're comfortable and you get to just experience what you're doing rather than like focusing on the bike and like, oh, what mode am I in? Oh, what the map? Oh, the screen's flashing. It's just like, it's more simple motorcycling. It's kind of crazy because in today's, power sports world, we're almost getting away from that with everyone with the more technology and the doodads on these motorcycles. And it's cool that KLR just sticks to the old school approach. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all.
Yeah, it's
not a bad thing.
It's the Luddites ADV bike. It's like you said, like all those electronic doodads and stuff, they're great. Don't get me wrong. Like I love every bit of traction control, every bit of ABS. All those things are rad. But sometimes it's awesome to just not worry about those things. And you've got one ride mode, the one that it's always in.
Yeah.
You either have ABS or you don't. Like, there's that kind of stuff. And that's really nice sometimes to not really think about all those things, like you said, and setting up stuff and hooking your Bluetooth to the screen so you can have turn-by-turn navigation and all that stuff. You just, it's sometimes it's just a more pared down riding experience. I wouldn't say it's more pure, but it's pared down, which is nice.
Well, maybe it is more pure. I mean, it's old school. Like it's nice to get away from all that stuff sometimes,
Mm-hmm. Very much so. So.
Well, yeah. And how often do you find? I find myself quite often with all these bikes and all the doodads, just like you're walking around with your phone, staring at your phone. Now you're staring at the dash. What? Like what mode? What? Like what's it saying? Like it's just nice not having to worry about that. I mean, you have a lot of things going on when you're riding a motorcycle, so one less distraction isn't a bad thing.
Very much so. And you're never in the wrong mode or the wrong ABS because you either have it or you don't, right? That's another thing. Sometimes on all these techie bikes, you're like, okay, I'm gonna head, you're heading down the road and you turn onto a dirt road and you forget to turn off the ABS, or you forget to put it in gravel mode or whatever, and you're just like, oh, what's going on? And you get stuck, or you like come into a corner too hot and you don't slow down because you have road ABS on a gravel road, and that's not gonna happen on a KLR.
No.
You make a really good point with that. Yeah, that's like an annoying thing that happens to me quite often. We're like, oh, now I'm in the ride mode and the bike won't stop, and this happens and that happens. It's like, why can't it be more simple?
Yeah, exactly.
With the KLR, it can be.
It can be. It can totally be more simple, and that's one of the fun parts about it. The only other KLR story I have is I went to a event with our good buddy Ken Hutchison many years ago, called Taste of Dakar, and it was like this rally type of thing, and Jimmy Lewis was there talking about Dakar and how rad he was on the BMW HP2, and then he laid out a course, and there was like the easy course, and then there was like the hard course, and it was like, okay, if you're gonna do the hard course, you need to be on a dual sport bike. Don't do it on an adventure bike, whatever. And I had a KLR for that trip, and I was like, well, I'll just go on it anyways. And we rode it, and Ken was on some dual sport, and we got kind of lost, and we were like one of the only people that did it, and we kind of and Ken started running low on fuel, and I'm on this like super tanker KLR, and then he ran out of fuel, and I remember we finally got it. We would like lean it over and like siphon some gas out. It was a carburetor one at the time, so we just pull the petcock, fill up his bike. He'd run out again. Okay, we only have to go a few more miles. Let's fill it up, and then finally we got to the road, and I pushed him, with my left foot on the muffler for 17 miles with the KLR.
Jeez.
Pushed him 17 miles on the pavement to get to a gas station. And then I was glad I was on the KLR. Like it was like going across all this like rough cross grain desert stuff, and the KLR is just bottoming out, and I'm just like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. But I beat on it, and it didn't even care. Like it didn't fall apart. Nothing fell off of it. wheels didn't get out of true, the frame wasn't smashed, but it took the beating. And then when it really mattered that we had to get somewhere, it got there, and the normal dual sport didn't,
Yeah, and you're not sweating it. You're not sweating the gas either.
No, I'm like, it's good, But we got so tired of like transferring fuel. I'm like, I'll just push you. So that's all I did. So
well, that's really the thing about the KLR is like it'll take you there. It'll take you there. Like you can do single track, you can do like a hill climb, you can do ride in the sand. Like it'll tackle any terrain. It won't tackle it with extreme, expertise or precision, but it will just get the job done.
Yeah, it will. It'll get the job done, and I think that's why I still think it's a viable choice for world travel is just because it'll get you there, like Adam said. So what about you guys? You guys still think it's still something that people should consider if they're like, I'm going to break away, I'm going to, work remotely for the next 3 years and ride around the world? Is it a bike that you should consider?
I definitely would. I definitely would. Yeah.
Yeah, just talking about it right now is actually kind of getting me excited about it. I'm like thinking about just the utilitarian purpose of it and just how affordable it is, how simple it is. Those things, you can tip them over and they don't get bent, they don't break, they just work.
Yeah.
And yeah, for an adventure bike, like a classic adventure bike, that's a bike you can't really go wrong with.
Yeah, but also if you are one of these going to go around the world travelers, one of the most important things is your budget, and this thing is very budget friendly. Like you're both for maintenance, but initial cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's
compared
a quarter.
Compared to anything else you might consider, this thing is going to be very friendly to your budget.
Yeah, it's a quarter of the cost of a R1300 GSA.
Yeah.
Quarter of the price.
You could have 4 KLRs or 1 GS Adventure.
You could just put 4. You could put 4 around the world and just switch it.
Yeah. Exactly.
That could be your maintenance option. Just grab a new one, like Tara.
Just grab a new one. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you can buy a lot of tires, a lot of oil changes, and a lot of hotel rooms for that additional $24,000.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. Well, I think that's it on the KLR650, unless anyone's got any other info. I think we've all come to a consensus that it is still a great choice for world travel. It'll get you there. It's reliable. It's old school, and that's the charm of it. And you don't have to look at it when you're sitting on it.
Yeah. You do have to look at it, though, when it's in your garage.
That is true, but you can look at it and know that it's going to get you where you want to go. So it's been around for 38 years for a good reason: simplicity, value, and a great community around the motorcycle. It's still a great choice for those that are looking to go a wrong way, and that's the short of the long of it. So thanks for support. Thanks for listening. We always really enjoy seeing comments. So put your comments down below, like, subscribe. And hey, if you think we're doing something cool, share it with your friends, put it on your Facebook, whatever. Let other people know about what we're doing here. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.